What happens when you mock a disabled soldier, only to discover she once saved the lives of America's most elite warriors? Under the scorching midday sun in Arizona, a woman strides across a construction site on a prosthetic leg. She says nothing. She shows no reaction. But just minutes later, 3 black SUVs glide in, and the men who step out bring the entire site to a stunned silence. Have you ever seen respect restored in just 5 minutes? This story will keep you glued to the edge of your seat. The noon in Phoenix is arid and scorching, like fire. The sun, nailed to a cloudless sky, pours skin-searing heat onto every inch of cracked pavement. On the sidewalk, cutting across the Danner and Cole Logistics construction site, a solitary figure moves forward. The metallic prosthetic leg taps lightly against the concrete in a steady rhythm, producing a small, sharp sound, like a knock on the pride of its wearer. Rachel Jennings, Sergeant, former Marine. 3 times she eulogized her comrades. Once she lost a part of herself, and countless times she clenched her teeth in silence, when the world looked at her with eyes no one would want to receive. She isn't here to draw attention, just on her way to the Veterans Hospital, a routine task, a familiar route. But today, this path cuts through a place not meant for dignified silence. Beyond the chain-link fence, the group of workers on lunch break begins to murmur as Rachel appears. They lean on paint cans, prop feet on stacks of bricks, chew sandwiches lazily, amid laughter and cigarettes. Their eyes start to fix on her, as if spotting something more entertaining than social media. A shout rings out, shrill and gleeful. "Hey, look! It's RoboCop in real life!" The group erupts in laughter, not crisp, but crude, sharp, a laughter of those who never knew the boundaries of respect. Another guy stands up, takes a few steps, then mocks a limp, arms flailing, lips pursed in a feigned cluelessness. "Yo! TikTok soldier lady! Close up for the camera!" one yells, holding up his phone, aiming it at her. His fingers swipe the screen, as if hunting for a viral clip. Rachel doesn't look at them. Her eyes stay fixed ahead. Her squared shoulders don't tremble. Her pace neither quickens nor slows. That prosthetic leg once carried a bleeding man across a killing field in Helmand. Now it endures each step, amid a strange city filled with contemptuous stares. The foreman, a pot-bellied man with a flushed neck, standing behind the workers, curls his lip. His voice is low and gruff, but doesn't hide his smugness. "Bet she lost her leg typing in an air-conditioned office. Not fighting. Don't be fooled." His words, like a dull blade scraping through the air, don't strike Rachel, but cut into the heart of anyone who's witnessed her pain. She doesn't stop, doesn't turn her head. But in her chest, her heartbeat pounds, not from anger, but from that chillingly familiar feeling. Being seen by eyes that know nothing of war, of survival, or of loss. They know nothing of that fateful night, of the rain of bullets tearing through the Afghan dark, of the ragged breaths of a comrade on her shoulder, of the cold of blood soaking her hands, and the blast behind her that stole a part of her body. They only see a limping woman passing by, and they laugh, and they don't know. Across the street, a black SUV is quietly parked in the shade of a building. Its tinted windows reflect the sun, concealing the man inside. He watches Rachel like someone who's seen the devil, not out of fear, but because memories suddenly spring to life. Logan Maddox, former SEAL, the man who lay dying in Helmand, where Rachel with blood pouring from her own wounded leg, returned a third time, dragging him out of that hell. He remembers her every step, her resolute eyes, brimming with tears that never fell, the way she clenched her teeth to stifle a groan, pulling him through land, screaming under gunfire. And he knows, if that day had been his last, Rachel was the one he'd trust with his life. Now, she walks alone through an ignorant crowd, and once again, Logan grips the steering wheel tightly, not out of anger, but because of an unspoken debt he's never had the chance to repay. But this time, he won't stay silent, won't sit still, not when the woman who saved him is being mocked by those unworthy of sharing her ground. His phone vibrates in his hand. Without hesitation, he presses call. His voice is colder than steel. "Move in. It's Rachel." They're mocking her. Logan Maddox sits motionless in the driver's seat, as if time has just frozen, not out of fear, but because his heart stirs with an old emotion, deeper than anger. It's the silent pain of a man, once saved by the blood and flesh of another. And now, that woman, the one who pulled him from hell, is being humiliated in broad daylight, by those who've never seen death in anyone's eyes. Through the tinted glass, he watches Rachel, as if witnessing something sacred being defiled. She doesn't turn her head, doesn't frown. But he knows. She hears everything, and every word, every laugh, though it can't pierce her flesh, can still tear at the pride of someone who's lived and died on battlefields. He lifts the phone. "Maddox here. Emergency situation. It's Jennings. They're mocking her. Move in now." Just a few words, but they carry an unspoken command, a call to action that needs no explanation. The other end falls silent for a heartbeat, then responds, crisp and firm. "Roger." No one questions. No need to question, because the name Jennings carries enough weight. To all of them. She's not just a veteran, she's a symbol, the reason many of them still breathe. On the sun-scorched streets of Phoenix, 2 black SUVs peel away from traffic, weaving like arrows seeking their target. Inside are 6 men, hair starting to gray, shoulders heavier with years, but eyes still holding the look the military forged, cold, deep, never straying from the mark. Each has seen Rachel in the killing fields, not in glory, but in mud, blood, and gun smoke. They remember how she never asked why, only acted, never boasted, only appeared when it mattered most. And now, they will appear for her. Logan glances at the rear-view mirror, his eyes not blazing with rage, but with absolute focus. The emotion in him doesn't explode. It simmers, coiled, like unlit dynamite. But the grip on the steering wheel is enough to declare, this won't end in silence. He still tracks Rachel. She's turned past the fence corner, walking under the shade of a scraggly eucalyptus. The breeze brushes the hem of her uniform. There's something quintessentially American in that image, quiet, resilient, asking no one's pity. The workers behind her still roar with laughter, their jeers growing louder, as if fueled by the silence of their target. They don't know that silence is a statement, that she doesn't need to respond, because some things, if spoken, lose their sanctity. And they certainly don't know a tidal wave is approaching, not loud, not angry, but organized, summoned by memory, by brotherhood, and by a debt of gratitude. In the distance, The soft hum of SUV engines rises, blending into the city's noise. But to Logan, it's the sound of justice. Not the justice of law, but the justice between people. The kind that won't let seasoned warriors sit idle when a comrade is insulted. He speaks again, this time almost a whisper into the radio. No violence, just presence. One of the team replies, presence is enough. And it is. Sometimes, the right people, in the right moment, can shift the entire scene. No fists, no weapons, just them standing there, saying, we won't allow this, and they're coming, to say it. For Rachel, but also because of her. Rachel keeps walking, never looking back. In her mind, the mocking laughter behind her fades, but its echo lingers, like a scar that never heals. She doesn't know, just a few blocks away. Those who once held her hand on the edge of life and death are coming for her. 3 matte black SUVs round a corner, gliding through the noon sunlight, like shadows defying the ordinary. No sirens, no show, but resolute. They halt at the construction site gate, like a unit straight from a military drill, precise, synchronized, cold. The doors open. 7 men step out, one by one. No uniforms, no badges, but each carries the bearing of a time at war. Their shoulders are broad, their eyes deep, their steps echoing the sound of bomb-strewn lands. Each brings a silence heavy as steel, not from having nothing to say, but because they know, when it matters. Silence outweighs words. The entire site seems to pause, in a single beat of space. A few workers look up, slowly standing. The laughter dies abruptly. No one planned it, but all sense it. These men aren't here to ask for directions. Logan Maddox doesn't glance around. He strides straight toward Todd Riley, the foreman, with eyes once full of contempt and a smug belly, used to dominating others with words. Logan's voice rises, not loud, not threatening, but resounding, like a drum in an open field. Which one of you thinks mocking a wounded veteran is entertainment? No one answers immediately. Riley smirks. He spits his cigarette aside, lifts his chin, as if clinging to the last shred of authority. This is private property, he says, voice dripping with disdain. Who are you people? Logan stops, at a distance close enough to not invade, but near enough that Riley's eyes can't escape. He doesn't stare directly at Riley, but scans each man behind him, his gaze a clear message. I know who stands with whom. I'm the man. Sergeant Jennings saved, he says, voice low, but every word echoing. And she's the reason I'm still standing here, talking to you. No one laughs, no one moves. Logan continues, his voice now like an undercurrent, needing no volume, yet shaking the ground. She pulled me from a kill zone, under fire, with her own leg blown to pieces. And you? Think that's funny? Dead silence. Some workers glance at each other. One swallows hard. A younger one quietly pulls out his phone, intending to record the unfolding scene. But before he can raise it, one of the SEALs steps closer, holding a tablet already primed. The screen glows, files preloaded. We've recorded everything, he says, without raising his voice. Every word, every laugh, every gesture. Did you think you were invisible? You're wrong. A faint breeze sweeps through, stirring red dust from the concrete into floating specks. It feels as if the air itself awaits judgment, Every step, every word, every breath of the SEALs needs no introduction. They don't need to prove who they are. Their presence is the answer. And those who mocked now only exchange looks, while the presence of these men turns the entire site into a stage where no one wants to be the lead. Dear audience, take a moment to relax or grab a glass of water. Then keep listening to this story. The twists are still ahead. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always exciting to see someone join us from all corners of the world. Drop a comment number 1 if you're loving this story so we can keep bringing you more like it. The news erupts like wildfire on a dry plain, and this time the blaze isn't sparked by nature, but by human hearts. A video, under 2 minutes long, shot on a mobile device, has set the media ablaze. In the clip, a woman walks past a construction site. The laughter, the jeers, the indifferent stares of the workers, and then the arrival of 3 black SUVs, a team of SEALs stepping out, saying little, but their presence heavy as stone. Everything captured, clear, undeniable. The first to share the clip, a Navy veteran. Then, veterans organizations across America. Then, local news channels. Then, national media. Then, social media, where each share is a wave, sweeping away apathy. Comments flood in. She's a hero. No more silence. I was a soldier. I know that feeling. One writes, as a mother whose daughter lost a leg serving, I couldn't hold back tears watching this. Another, her silence is the loudest manifesto. Danner and Cole thrust into the eye of rage, their hotline overwhelmed, their inbox clogged. Partners call, not to check in, but to warn. If you don't act clearly within 24 hours, we'll pull all contracts. A major construction firm cancels a shipment mid-transit. Within 16 hours of the video's spread, Todd Riley, the foreman with the venomous smirk, is forced out. An internal email states curtly, no longer aligns with company values. No one says goodbye. He leaves the office, clutching a cardboard box of personal items, his once sneering eyes, now lost. But the story doesn't end there. In a quiet apartment in North Phoenix, where walls are lined with old medals and photos of fallen comrades, Rachel Jennings sits motionless on the sofa, her phone on the table, blinking incessantly. The screen lights up, calls, texts, emails, interview requests, her name on TV, her face tied to the word hero, a title she never claimed. She picks up the phone, meaning to turn it off, but sets it down. Messages from strangers pour in. One writes, I stayed silent when I saw a veteran mocked. After your video, I know I won't anymore. A child sends a drawing. A girl with a prosthetic leg, standing in a schoolyard, holding an American flag. Rachel doesn't know what to do with it all. She never prepared for fame, never dreamed of being a symbol. She just wanted quiet, a normal life, to shop without stares, to sit in a cafe without pity. She's used to silence, not from fear of speaking, but from knowing the cost of noise at the wrong time. I didn't want this, she says, voice hoarse, hand on her forehead. Tara DeWitt, her best friend, former comrade, sits across from her. Her face, creased with stress, but her eyes, calm. Tara's been through that moment. She understands. You were fine, Tara says, voice soft, until they made you a symbol. Rachel looks up, her eyes dry, but shadowed with exhaustion, not physical, but of the soul. But I don't want to be a symbol, she whispers. I was just a person, walking past a construction site. That's all. Tara stays quiet for a moment. Then, gently, I know, but maybe, because you don't want it. You're the one who deserves it. The words fall like a small stone into a still lake, not loud, but rippling the water. Rachel doesn't reply. She turns to the window. Outside, the city hums, busy as ever. But she knows, from today, her steps are no longer anonymous. And deep within, she begins to realize silence may no longer be an option. Not because she's changed, but because the world has started to listen. Invitations pour in, like waves crashing on a shore. Rachel unable to build a barrier in time. Schools, television stations, veterans' conferences, all wanting one thing, to hear her speak. Not everyone says it outright, but their looks, their messages, all seem to whisper the same. You survived for us. Give us a voice. Rachel declines, once, then twice. She's not used to standing before crowds, even less to recounting things. She's tried to bury under thick layers of war's dust. For her, speaking is never easy, each word a stitch that bleeds. But then Logan appears, as he always does, right on time. No pushing, no urging, just a gentle hand on her shoulder, his words soft, not to force her. You don't have to represent everyone, he says. Just tell your truth. That's enough. His words sink quietly into Rachel's heart, like a small stone dropped into a deep lake. It doesn't break the surface, but touches the very bottom. And so, she agrees, for the first time. The first venue, a public high school auditorium, wooden chairs, dim fluorescent lights, and hundreds of teenage eyes, learning to be adults in a noisy world. Rachel stands at the podium, hands trembling slightly. No notes, no prepared speech, just a woman with a prosthetic leg and a heart not yet fully healed. She takes a deep breath. Her eyes sweep the room, young faces, curious, cautious. And then she speaks, softly, but each word clear, like a tap on wood. A scar doesn't mean you fell. It only means you survived. The auditorium falls silent. No applause, but a special stillness, the quiet of genuine listening. From there, she continues. More invitations come. She no longer refuses. She doesn't speak of those who mocked her, doesn't recount the gunfire or the day her leg was taken. Instead, she talks about returning to life, about society's deafening silence when facing the disabled, about how, sometimes, compassion is mistaken for pity. To businesses, she says plainly, respect isn't charity, it's recognition. She doesn't want pity, she wants understanding. Logan stays by her side, not as a bodyguard, but as a companion, a comrade, knowing when to step back, when to let her speak. And soon, they start thinking bigger, realizing that changing perceptions requires more than storytelling. So they found the Jennings Initiative, not a flashy organization, no dazzling slogans, but with a clear goal to train and educate businesses, organizations, on how to treat veterans and the disabled, with dignity, humanity, and professionalism. Rachel doesn't take the role of director. She's the storyteller, the one who opens talks, with her real story. No slides, no charts, just truth. And that truth, from someone who's walked through war and silence, carries more weight than any statistic. She no longer trembles holding the microphone, but each time she speaks, something still tightens in her chest. A piece of old pain, never gone, just set gently aside, enough for her to carry on. And each time she finishes, she pauses for a moment, when an audience member's eyes meet hers, not with pity, but with understanding. That's when Rachel knows. Her voice, once something she hid, is now paving the way for others to stand. And for the first time in years, she no longer fears strangers' stares, because she knows she's using her own gaze to change how they see. A year later, Washington, D.C. bathes in sunlight. Against the crisp autumn sky, the American flag flutters quietly in the gentle breeze, a solemn salute to those who served and sacrificed. In the heart of the Capitol, at the National Convention Center, over 3,000 people sit waiting, not for a performance, but to hear a story. Rachel Jennings stands backstage, her field uniform replaced by simple, neat attire. The metallic prosthetic leg peeks out from under the fabric, no longer hidden, no need to conceal. For now, it's not something to bow her head over, but a mark of what leaves today's audience in awe. Before stepping onto the stage, she sees Logan in the front row. He nods slowly, eyes fixed on her, not to check, but to remind her she no longer walks alone. Beside him, Tara, her gaze quietly brimming with pride. And next to them, a young girl with a high ponytail, her intricate prosthetic arm holding a sign. Miss Rachel taught me to walk with my head high. That moment stops Rachel, not from fear, but from emotion rising too fast, catching in her throat. When her name is announced, applause rolls like waves, not raucous, but weighty. Everyone in the room knows the woman stepping up is more than a speaker. She's living proof of unassuming courage. Rachel walks to the stage's center, soft lights not dimming, the resolute look in her eyes. She stands still for a moment, scanning the audience watching her, from silent, elderly veterans to young people in military badges, from those who've never known war to those who carry it in their sleep each night. Someone once said, she begins, voice low but steady, the worst thing is when sacrifice is forgotten, but worse still is when it's mocked. A pause, then she continues, I never wanted to be a headline. I didn't seek attention. I was just walking down a street, past a construction site, and I thought, if I stayed silent, it would all pass. She pauses again, her eyes finding the young girl below. A faint smile crosses Rachel's lips, slight, but powerful. But if my pain can stop another veteran from being laughed at instead of thanked, if a younger soldier can feel valued, not for what they lost, but for what they gave, then maybe everything that happened was worth it. And then, as if from a shared heartbeat, the entire audience rises, over 3,000 people, those who once stayed silent, those unsure what to say, to a veteran missing a leg. Now, they stand, not out of courtesy, but because something in their hearts has been awakened. The applause thunders, unbroken, not mechanical, but the rhythm of genuine gratitude. From a jeering laugh in a Phoenix summer noon, a wave has risen, unstoppable, a wave of awareness, empathy, and change. Because one woman kept walking. And then, one by one, others decided they wouldn't let her walk alone. Sergeant Rachel Jennings' story reminds us that sometimes courage doesn't roar, it limps forward in silence, carrying battles no outsider can see. Respect isn't a privilege, it's the duty of a society grateful for those who sacrificed for our freedom. If you've witnessed or faced injustice toward veterans, share this story. So the next time someone passes a silent hero, they don't pass with judgment, but with respect. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to share in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always thrilling to see someone connect with us from across the globe. Drop a comment number 1 if this story moved you, so we can keep delivering inspiring, honest, thought-provoking tales. Let's build a community where gratitude isn't just a feeling, but an action.